Welcome to Tales from the Fandom, a podcast that brings a special guest out of the multiverse and straight to you. And now your host, David Ginsburg.
Hey everybody, welcome to the latest episode of Tales from the Fandom, and here we are, it's March already, and just a quick note is that we are dedicating June of 2018 to women in tabletop gaming. Every day for that month, we are going to release at least one episode of content discussing tabletop gaming with a different woman who is involved with it, whether they are podcasters, bloggers, content creators, or just people that actually just play role-playing games, and they've agreed to come on and spend their time with me talking about tabletop gaming. For more information, or if you're interested in participating, definitely give me an email at talesfromthefandom@gmail.com, or for the most up-to-date information, follow me on Twitter at talesftfandom, and you can follow and find out what is going on with the project. And we should have a website up by the time that you're listening to this. If not, look for that soon, and I'm just very excited. Thank you.
Caverns and Comedians is a real play Dungeons & Dragons podcast featuring Toronto comedians playing Dungeons & Dragons. We roll the dice, but we edit that out to just give you the nice role-playing experience. Featuring acts of heroism.
I've got his wallet. I mean, I didn't mean to kill him, but he was bad, right? We're pretty sure?
Do I have to heal you? I don't want to. Can't you just die?
Ooh, a dungeon master. My safe word is potato.
Stumbling towards goodness, one roll at a time. Caverns and Comedians can be found on iTunes, Google Play, or kicksandgigglesentertainment.com.
And welcome to another episode of Tales from the Fandom. It is December 14th as we record this, and I am joined by Summer of Off the Table, as well as she is a writer for Encounter Roleplay. Welcome to Tales from the Fandom, Summer.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited too. I have to say, Twitter has been this, I guess, an untapped well of wonderful people that I've started getting to know, like online, and getting to interact with, and just finding like incredible guests to come on. And I'm so happy to have you.
Yeah, I'm really happy that you found me. That's like exactly how Twitter's been for me over the past couple of months. I've made so many good friends on Twitter and met so many interesting people. So I'm really glad that you found me.
Yeah, it's really cool. I think I know I was following you at some point, and I don't remember how I followed you or why I followed you, but I liked everything that you were putting out, and I was like, I'd love to talk to her about it. Especially, I think you had mentioned at one point a role-playing game that I had been really interested in, Burning Wheel, at some point. Oh, man. And I was like, oh, well, I can ask her about that.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. I could talk about Burning Wheel forever. We just wrapped up season 1 of the campaign that I've been in, and it was just a roller coaster of emotion, but it was awesome.
Awesome. And we will definitely talk about role-playing games a little bit later in the show, but I wanted to ask you have 2 major fandoms that you wrote to me. And one of them, we were talking beforehand before we started recording, and one of them I absolutely love. And then the other one is a fandom that only one person has dared to talk about on this podcast. And so I'd like to let you make the choice. Which one would you like to go for first?
You know what? Let's talk about The Office first.
Okay.
That way people can decide that they like me first before I turn on them and break their hearts with my second one.
Okay. So we both mutually love The Office.
Yeah.
From personal experience, I actually watched the UK version of The Office. I was introduced to it when I was living in Japan. One of my roommates was from England and had brought his DVD set over and was like, you got to watch this. And I fell in love with the show and was super psyched when they were making the US version. Mm-hmm. Of course, the first season is mostly like a play-by-play of the UK version of it.
Yeah, like scene for scene almost.
Yes, exactly. But it became this wonderful thing on its own, and it grew its own legs and was I don't even know what to say. Like, it was wonderful for, I would say, 80 to 90% of the show.
I completely agree. And it's hard because when you're like telling somebody about The Office and they've never seen it, a lot of the times they'll have a hard time getting into The Office just because the first 2 seasons are kind of like trying to find itself as the US version. And, you know, the British humor doesn't like necessarily resonate with everybody that they tried to like pull over to the first season. But it just like became its own animal and is my favorite show of all time. If I had to pick one thing to watch forever, movie or show, I would pick The Office every single time.
Yes, I love, like, and you hit it right on the head. Like, that first season, I think because they were really trying to emulate the UK version, there were some times where it's like, it's not really working. But I think by probably like midway second season, it starts to get better, and then it just really goes on from there.
It's kind of funny because whenever I restart watching it, and I just started not that long ago, season 1, I forget how terrible Michael is of a person. Like, he's just such a bad person, and you feel so uncomfortable, like when he fake fires Pam in the very first episode, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is a terrible guy. How could I ever fall in love with him? And then, you know, flash forward to season 7 when he's leaving, and I was just bawling my eyes out crying in the Goodbye Michael episode. It's crazy that a show like that can take you on such an emotional roller coaster of character development.
Yeah, it is so good. Now, did you watch it when it was originally airing, or did you catch it later on?
I did. So my parents were really into The Office when it was coming out because they said that they knew someone that was like a Phyllis. They know someone that's like the Angela. They could really it really resonated with them, a true office environment. And so my parents, I was, you know, in middle school going into high school when I started getting into it, and I didn't get it. Like, I didn't laugh at the jokes like my parents laughed at it, but the older I got, and it was actually my first office job when I sat down and watched all the seasons back to back, that it became my favorite show because I felt I could just relate to every single character on some level. I wish that I had been as into it as I am now when it was first coming out.
Well, at least it's on Netflix still, so that you can binge it as much as you want.
They keep teasing it by saying, like, we're taking The Office down, and then they don't. And I need to just buy it, really. But as long as it's on Netflix, I'm golden.
Now, on The Office, you have, you know, your range of characters, and I think one of the things I loved about The Office is that you get to spend time with everybody. It's not like you see them and it's like, okay, background character, they have 1 or 2 lines. You get to actually know all the characters. So with that said, do you have a favorite or favorites that you're more drawn to than the others?
That it's such an impossible question, and I really don't know how to answer it because there's moments with each of them that they are my favorite character. There's nobody who doesn't have a good arc, a good, you know, scene or line or episode. But if I had to pick my absolute favorite character, it would probably be Creed Bratton, played by Creed Bratton. He's so extra. He has all of these like one-liners that you just remember forever. Like when he comes in on Halloween and he's covered in blood and he's like, that's convenient and you're like, what is he talking about? Like, it's so good. I love him so much. He's just a wild card.
He is. Gosh. And I love that whenever he plays the guitar, like that's actually him playing the guitar and him singing, and like he's super experienced in that.
You know what? I actually just found out. I love trivia about The Office. In one of the Christmas episodes where he's singing karaoke, he's singing to his own song, his own actually released song. Mm-hmm. And I did not know that. And it's insane. He's so talented.
Yeah, he's a multi-talented person, because I think there was one point, I don't remember if it was like a behind the scenes look at The Office, where they're going around and he's just like sitting playing the guitar for everybody. It might have been the last episode of the series where like everyone's just watching him sing, and he's just, that's how he was. And it's like those, I think it's like Creed and Phyllis and Stanley, like those like core background characters where they got to have those like random stories at times.
Yeah.
Just were just incredible to watch.
It really was. Like, you kind of like get these snippets of them because, I would say that Creed has some of the least screen time out of the like side characters, but every single time you see him, it's like a golden moment.
Yes.
And I love those kind of characters that just keep the world of The Office like fresh and alive and so funny. I mean, so funny.
I want to ask you about like a few of the other characters, and just tell me like the first reaction that you have to them.
Okay.
Toby Flenderson.
Incredible. Amazing. You love to hate Toby. Like, you feel for him, you're sad for him, like, but it's just so much fun to be like against Toby. And like, every single time, one of the things that me and one of my really good friends quote at each other all the time is, why are you the way that you are? I hate so many things about the way that you choose to be. And it's just such a solid insult. And like, poor Toby. But I'm so glad that there was a Toby. I think it needed that one person that you could really like get on the hate Toby train. But he's so sympathetic too.
He is. I think, because this show's off now, so I don't care about spoilers.
Yeah, spoil away.
I really love Toby until like the later story arcs with him on like that last season or season and a half, and I was like, Toby, like, what happened to you? I understand, but dude, just you're being a creep now.
Yeah, he really kind of lost it at the end. I think up until he comes back from Costa Rica is when I love Toby, early Toby, more than I love late Toby. But yeah, solid character through and through.
Okay, how about Dwight Schrute?
Okay. I mean, like I told you, I don't think I could really ever pick a favorite character because they're all my favorites. But I've never hated and loved a character so much in my life because he is so annoying. He is so irritating, but he is so funny. And you like see him go on this journey of love and like finding his family, and just what a character arc. Oh my gosh. How much he hates Jim in season 1, and then it's his best man at his wedding. And it's such a good turnaround. And I don't know. I'm blown away by every character, obviously. I love them all so much.
Let me ask one more person, and then I'll move off the characters for a little bit.
Okay.
What is your opinion on Jim?
I love Jim. I've heard mixed opinions on Jim, like just over the years, of people who say he's like not as great as, a lot of people play him up to be. But I think his character is just so endearing in how much he loves Pam. And I think that's why people love him, because of how much he loves Pam. Like, obviously, Jim is a very funny character, a lot of comedic relief. But I think that's why people love him so much, is because he loves Pam so much. And everybody wants to be loved the way that he loves her. And yeah, after, I think it's like season 8 and 9, when he moves and like kind of becomes a weird character that you're against for a little bit. I tend to just try and forget about that Jim. That's like pretty selfish, in my opinion. But overall, just another great character that I love through and through.
Yeah, I asked that question especially with Jim because I was always, team Jim. Like Jim's so
Mhm.
great, and I understand like that last character arc with him, moving away and then deciding eventually to come back. Not the best for him as a character, but then I started seeing either like blog posts or friends would be posting about The Office, and they're like, Jim is the absolute worst, and I'm like, I don't get it. Like I
I don't
don't
get it.
understand, but I mean, again, I don't see it from the point of view that they're looking at it with him. Even after they explain it, I don't connect with that. Like Jim is the worst.
Yeah, I've definitely seen some stuff about, he's just not the person that you should be idolizing as like the perfect guy. But I don't get it, honestly. I love Jim. I think he's fantastic, and he has his moments, but at the end of the day, I think he's a lovable character, and he's one of the main characters for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now, the Office went through several people who were in charge of the Office, starting with Michael and then going to a bunch of the other characters. Did you like it run under Michael? Did you have a person that maybe you liked better than Michael, as far as like who was the best manager of that branch?
I mean, I really think Michael was the best. Best manager of the branch, or my best to watch.
Your favorite to watch as branch manager.
My favorite to watch. It's always got to be Michael. But I'm actually like very team Andy and very team Dwight too. So many people really hate on The Office after Michael left.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, oh, it all goes downhill from there. But there are some of my favorite episodes in those episodes when he's gone, when Andy's the manager.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they definitely did the best with what they had, and like kept it feeling very true to what the standard of The Office so far. But Michael, 110%, is just what a disaster of a person to be running an office. And still, when they like tap into, he's actually a really good salesman. Like he's actually really good at his job.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I love, is when you get to see him like selling and succeeding and being the actual best branch manager in the entire company. But how terrible he is. Oh my gosh, he's incredible. Yeah, he's definitely my favorite manager.
Do you have a favorite like story arc or something that when you're doing your rewatches that just you're immediately drawn to, or something that just jumps out at you?
That's hard, because I definitely think there are a couple that really jump out to me, but I think my favorite character arc is Angela. She just softens so much over the course of the series, and we watch her get engaged to Andy, and she cheats on him for literally since the day they get engaged until they break up. And, we see her fall in love with Dwight and then kind of get over that relationship. And then you just know that they're meant to be together, and it really changes her character. So that's something that I always look forward to seeing, like watching that shift in her personality,
Mm-hmm.
just throughout the whole series, and ending the series with their wedding, her and Dwight's wedding, is my favorite thing that they could have done. Possibly, it's incredible.
Yeah, I was just thinking of it as you're talking. I was like, there's always those TV shows that have the great seasons and then the terrible finale.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like The Office had one of those finales that's just like, I still will watch the finale just by itself because it just has so many great little character moments for everybody. Like everybody's included in it.
Mm-hmm. When Phyllis gets the statue that Stanley makes of her, and she has the bird legs.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh, yeah, they really tied it all together really nicely, and I'm not a big fan. If we ever talked about Parks and Rec, I'm not a big fan of the time hops, like hopping forward in time. But that 1 year was definitely what I think the show needed to tie up all the loose ends.
Yeah, definitely. Like it worked out really well. And of course it provided some really great character moments, like your aforementioned Creed Bratton And he pops back up as like, oh, there's Creed. What's he talking about?
Oh yeah, he fakes his own death and then shows back up with a new name, a new persona, and gets hauled away to jail at the end. It's really good. It's really good.
So wonderful. I guess the last thing about The Office is it launched so many people's careers. Like you see, I'd say at least 50, maybe even more than that. Like they all seem to go on to do something. Like even like you knew like Ed Helms was going to do something, or some of the other like like the major people,
right?
But,
John Krasinski,
like for John Krasinski and Jenna Fisher, and I can't remember Dwight's
Rainn Wilson
name, and I follow Rainn Wilson, like I follow him on Twitter, but is like the person who plays Phyllis is like all over the place. Like she was in the OA on Netflix, and she played Sadness in Inside Out for Pixar, and like things like that. And Mindy Kaling like launched her career from there, and even the actress who did Kimmy Schmidt on Netflix, like she was on there for a little bit. Like it's just like that kind of thing was incredible to see how many people came out of that series and just continued, like even to get bigger from that.
Yeah, and you see them really everywhere. Like even Steve Carell. I mean, I wonder how successful he would have been without The Office. Obviously he was a very successful comedian before The Office too, but I just wonder, like Stupid Crazy Love is one of my favorite like rom-coms ever, and it wouldn't have been the same without him. And I can't help but wonder, how many of these people would we not know about if it hadn't been for The Office.
Absolutely. I almost think, because I'm a big like Star Trek like nerd or whatever, and I remember when they interviewed Patrick Stewart, who plays Jean-Luc Picard, and he's like, I lived out of my suitcase for a year because I didn't think that it was going to go anywhere, and then of course it became this new thing. And I feel like that's the same for like Steve Carell, because that first season was not the greatest, and I think they had wavered back and forth on if they were going to renew it or not.
Yeah.
And then it just became this huge thing and launched his movie career and everything that he's done from that point on. Like he's been in a bunch of different things.
Yeah, he really has been, and he's like continuing to be in all of these like big roles. I don't remember what the name of the movie is, but he's going to be in that tennis movie that's like about to come out. That looks really intense, like an intense role for him, and I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, that looks really good. I think I just read about like the actual story that it's based on, because is like him playing like the female tennis star, and I know in real life like she destroys him and shows like, okay, you know what, women are as equal or better than male tennis players. Yeah, I'm excited, but it looked like a really intense and like different role for him, and I'm excited to see him branching out away from just straight comedy, I think, because he's a very talented actor. Yeah, it's always good to see people do like totally different things that you don't expect. All right, Summer, now it is time. People have now fallen in love with you. They're like, oh yeah, I connect with Summer, and now it's time to like drop the hammer. And I will preface this again because I think the last time I talked about it was like on episode 39 with Anna. And when I created the podcast, there was the one fandom that I was not sure if I would ever have someone talk about, because it's such a, and I have friends that like it. I have friends that like love the books or love the movies, and I wasn't sure how I would handle it, because I like as a person, I don't like the books. I tried reading them. They didn't connect with me. My wife read all of the books. I know she watched at least one or two of the movies, but it's something that I've never really gotten into. And I know that I have tons of friends that just love it. And So I'm going to have to lean on you for this next part as we discuss the fandom that is Twilight.
Yep. Here we go.
Here we go. So let me start off with books first or movies first?
Let's go movies, actually.
Okay. Now, I was going to ask, which did you get into first? Was it the books first that you got into and then you got into the movies? Or did you watch the movies first and go backwards?
No, it was books, 110%. Midnight releases. I was there reading them with my friends, like doing that thing where we like would lock ourselves in our room and not come out until the book was done, like unplugged the phone. We took it very seriously. And then same with the movies, like as they started rolling out, I have album after album on my Facebook of me going to these Twilight movie premieres, and it's so embarrassing. But yeah, it was really my life in high school. It really was a huge, huge part of my life.
Let me ask you, what is the draw for you to Twilight?
So when I first read the books, it was just the perfect. Stephanie, I'm convinced, is a genius. I think she knew exactly what she was doing when she wrote Twilight. It is not supposed to be a masterpiece. It's not supposed to be a good book even, but I think she knew how to draw in the teenage audience with this like perfect guy that as an adult who I just reread Twilight last year is terrifying. It is a scary book. It's Edward is probably one of the hands down creepiest characters that's ever been written, but I think she knew. I think she tapped into the teenage girl psyche. I was a freshman in high school when I read the first one, and it was like just the romance. I was so into it, and the drama of the whole thing and their relationship and the ups and downs and breaking up and falls in love with her best friend, like all of it was just, it sucked me in. It sucked my 14-year-old self just in, and I was in it.
and it was all downhill from there.
It was all down. It was uphill.
It was all good.
It was uphill. Then it was downhill when I realized how terrible Twilight is. And then it went even further downhill when I realized that I still love it. And I know that I shouldn't love it anymore.
Now, I always try to be neutral, especially because I have the friends that love Twilight. I have people that like Twilight. Again, I just never connected with it, and I do make fun of it. Like, that's the one thing I will say. I make fun of it without having read it or without having watched it. So I try to be careful on the podcast here when we talk about it. So let's talk about the movies. How well were they connected as far as, you hear with Harry Potter that some of the book changes, the movie changes from the books weren't well received or they didn't like it. How do the movies compare to the books?
Well, firstly, I just want to say it's okay to make fun of Twilight. I also make fun of Twilight, and it's one of my favorite things about rewatching the movies, actually pretty spot on in my opinion. I think that every change that they made for the movies was a change that was necessary to make it interesting as a movie, because what Twilight is an inner monologue of a 17-year-old girl. Like, it's tough to take that and translate it into a movie that can stand on its own. But as far as like staying true to the majority of the plot, I'm pretty happy with it. There's like a couple of things that as I was rereading it, I was like, oh, I wish they had done this differently. Like, Bella's like worse almost in the movies. Like, she's almost less competent as a person, which doesn't seem possible coming from the books. But they like dumbed her down almost, in my opinion, for the movies, which I don't know why. But yeah, I think it got better as the movies went on when I have to talk about it just for 1 second. And I think it's the third movie. Kristen Stewart had cut her hair for another role.
Mm-hmm.
They put her in a wig. I don't know if you've seen all of the movies. I
have not seen any of the movies.
They put her, at this point, Twilight had made millions of dollars, and they could not get this girl a decent wig. it is I will have to send you a picture of this. It is horrifying. And it's like my favorite thing in the entire world. But they had all this money, and I think they were really trying to go above and beyond and like make it this big budget, whatever. But, you know, really the movies are not good. I mean, just they're, you know, they stay true to the book. The books aren't good. The movies aren't good. I'm going to like upset so many people. I really hope
or you're making people happy. So
I know, but I still love it. That's the worst part is I just love how terrible it is and how much fun it is to get really into and to like dive into the Twilight lore. Oh gosh.
Now, you know, with books versus movies, people sometimes have like they'll have the same favorite character from the book be in the movie, or maybe the person. Again, I will equate it to Harry Potter. Like, book Ginny is a lot better than movie Ginny.
Yeah.
But with Twilight, is it for you? Do you have the same character from the book equate to the movie, or do the movies you find yourself drawn to a character that maybe you're not drawn to in the book?
So my favorite characters from book to movie do change. Movies, they could not have cast a better Charlie, Bella's dad. He was spot on, perfect. He was exactly the same in the book, and he just played that role so convincingly well as like this kind of sarcastic single dad. And I really felt like he was just the perfect fit. But as far as like the book, I think my favorite character in the book is Rosalie, which is, you know, one of the adopted children of Dr. Cullen, because she just was actually one of the more well-rounded characters. Believe it or not, that there could be a well-rounded character in Twilight. But you really get a sense of like her struggle, that she's not happy with the life that she has. Like, she is gorgeous and she's going to live forever, and she doesn't have what she wants, which was, you know, a family. And I just really resonated with that character of, yeah, if vampires were real and somebody, you know, made the choice for you to live forever, you would have people who were not happy with the cards that they had been dealt. And I think Rosalie is one of those characters that shows you, you know, the idea of living forever when you're 17 is appealing, but is it worth it? Is it what you really want? And Rosalie's there to say, no, it's not what you want. Dying is better than to be stuck forever, unchanging, and everything around you, you know, grows and your friends have families, and you'll never have that. So Rosalie, for sure, in the books is like a very tragic character to me, and I really, really like her a lot. She's not as great in the movie.
Do you get to see her like in the books as the books go on, like, and understand like that struggle that she has, or is it more, okay, we've touched on it and we're moving on to, you know, go back to Bella and whoever?
Yeah, you really only get a peek at it. It's just like one conversation that they have. And she does, in a way, get her happy ending because if you're familiar at all with the books, but Bella gets pregnant while she's still human and has a baby. And kind of in that way, Rosalie gets her happy ending because she gets to participate in the raising of this child that's, like, for all intents and purposes, her niece. And she kind of does get her happy ending, but they don't ever address it. They don't ever have that conversation where Rosalie is like, you know, I finally got to kind of live out that part of my life. They just touch on it. Rosalie saying, don't turn into a vampire. It's not worth it. And then they never talk about it again.
Yeah, like, as you're describing it, like, I would love to read a book about Rosalie, say, and get, like, that whole, you know, dark feeling. And, you know, I don't, this is not like the life that I would choose for myself. And like that kind of story, that appeals to me.
Yeah, I think that she definitely could have had her own book. I think the only downside to Rosalie is she is so selfish. She is so self-centered. And Stephanie Meyer actually did write a couple of blurbs that were for her site that were from Rosalie's point of view. and you really get to look like into her headspace. And she's very self-centered. She does everything for herself, but at the same time, vampires, when they're changed, they're locked in their age, their mental age forever. And I think she's like 18 or 19. So she's locked in that permanent, selfish 18-year-old headspace forever. And it's just like a very interesting character to me. She's definitely my favorite from the books.
Okay. Now, are you team Edward or team Jacob?
I am neither. I guess if I had to pick a team, it would be probably team Jacob. Edward's relationship with Bella until she changes is like the most unhealthy relationship I can possibly imagine for a high schooler. He's obsessive. He's controlling. He doesn't want her to be friends with Jacob. He wants her like all to himself, and he breaks up with her selfishly, thinking he knows what's best for her, and just like leaves her to the deepest depression that a 17-year-old has ever experienced. And Jacob is there to kind of like lift her up and show her like, here's the happiness in life, and here's what you could have with like a healthy relationship. He doesn't try to control her. Eventually, like that kind of gets out of hand when they are pitted against each other. But for most of New Moon, Jacob is like a friendly reminder of what a normal relationship looks like a healthy, friendly relationship. And like people who are team Edward and don't look at how destructive his behavior is towards Bella, like are just kidding themselves, in my opinion, to say that he's a better fit for Bella is kind of psycho. He literally stalks her. He literally sits in her room while she's asleep and watches her sleep like for weeks. It's very strange. Oh gosh.
It's one of those things where, and you know, it's one of those memes that you see like, oh, I wish I had the relationship that Bella has with Edward, or like the more recent ones, I wish I had the relationship like Joker has with Harley Quinn. It's like, are you serious? Like, do you not understand the source material that you're talking about?
Do you not understand how psycho that would be to want somebody who, quote unquote, loves you so much that they own you, basically. They control your entire life.
Yeah, it is crazy. Crazy.
I love it. I have to keep saying that because it sounds like I hate it, but I really love it.
Well, see what I like as you're talking is like you have the passion and you're like, I love this. And then you'll give your like a backhanded like, but I don't like this and this is dumb, or you know, like I like that part, you know, Summer, about how you're talking about Twilight. It's like I'm admitting that I love this thing that just is just so ridiculous.
And I think that's part of why I realized that I still love it, is because it elicits such a response from me, like such just like a just gut reaction. I get so heated talking about Twilight. Like whenever anybody brings it up and they think they're like bringing it up as a joke, because I went in this like crazy Facebook rant where I posted only about Twilight for like a good 4 weeks because I was rereading the books and rewatching the movies. This was last year, mind you. And people like bring it up and like, I saw your Twilight thing. And I'm like, let's go. I'm ready to fight right now about these dang books. Oh gosh. Yeah. I'm just so passionate about it, obviously. But it's not good. It's not good, but it's just a love-hate relationship through and through. Oh man.
Is your favorite book your favorite movie, or do you have like a favorite book and a favorite movie?
It's the same, which is crazy that this would happen. My favorite book is the fourth one, and I don't know why. I really can't tell you why I love it so much, because it breaks away from the first three where it's really focused on Bella and Edward's relationship, and it kind of refocuses on family and like what it means to protect your own. And Bella having a baby is just like the craziest thing that could have happened. And I remember texting one of my friends when we had finished reading the books, and we were just talking about how mad we were that she had a baby, and the baby has literally the dumbest name that any baby's ever had forever. And but watching the movies, I got that same sense of like, this is about protecting your family. Like, you see Bella go from being this teenage pushover, weak, and then she becomes the vampire, and she like really does become who she was meant to be. And you see her as like a wife and a mother, and like fighting to protect the people that she loves. And it's like the most emotion that we see out of Bella in all of the books and in all of the movies. And specifically part 2, because they decided to do the break it up into 2 parts thing for the fourth book. And but specifically the very last movie, the second part, is so good. It's scary because of CGI baby, but it's very good. If you've never seen any of the Twilight movies, please go look up Twilight CGI baby, and you'll see something that you can't ever unsee. And I'm really sorry. It's Breaking Dawn Part 2. She has a baby, and they should have just used a real baby, but they didn't. I don't know why. But you see her like go on this journey of becoming a mother, and like her family is threatened, and she does what she has to do, and she's like really cool. she like becomes very, very solid and confident, and somebody who's going to fight for what she believes in and like her family. And I love that. So yeah, both fourth book and then the fourth and fifth movie are my favorites.
Do you have anything else you want to say about Twilight? The floor, or I guess the audio is yours if you got any final comments about it.
I would say that if you are somebody who is convinced that you don't like Twilight, really give it another shot. Like, really just give it another shot and come at it from a place of this isn't good, and enjoy it for what it is, which is just teen drama. And like, it's like people who love the OC or, just One Tree Hill. Like, you have to know what you're getting yourself into. But if you can really get into that headspace, you're going to enjoy yourself. And like, pick out all the points that make you laugh, like the wig. I'll never get over it. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen. The CGI baby, it's terrible. Just every single, I put this on my Facebook, that my favorite moments in the movies are the ones where it is the most uncomfortable conversation you've ever heard in your life. Like, you feel uncomfortable watching it because it's so unnatural. But those are my favorite scenes from the movies. So if you go into it knowing what you're getting and willing to enjoy yourself, you're going to like it. And it's the same with the books. You just have to know that Stephenie Meyer is an actual genius who knew the way to millions of teenage girls' hearts, and adults too. And I just rebought all of the books. She's still getting money from me. Like, and it's psycho, but it's incredible. It's such a good thing to love. I think it's important to have things that you like love to hate, kind of. And Twilight is what that is for me.
Absolutely. It's like a guilty pleasure. Like, you're like, oh, I love Twilight, but I'm not going to tell people I love Twilight unless I really need to tell them, or
I've started just openly confessing it. I think when I went back and dove back in, and so basically how I kind of got re-obsessed is it came on Netflix. They put the first one on Netflix, and my sister and I were sitting there, and we were like working on arts and crafts or something. I don't remember what it was. And I said, well, why don't we put this on while we're working? We'll rewatch the first one. And we couldn't stop watching. We put down what we were doing. We dropped everything, and we watched all of the movies that day. And we were like, we are back in love with this. And that's when I started rereading all the books and literally losing my mind. And that's when I realized I have no shame, because I started posting about it on Facebook and started live tweeting watching the movies and like all this psycho stuff. But it's It's so good. I love to hate it. And it's everything to me. And now everyone knows. Everyone knows.
Everyone knows.
Everyone knows. Everyone that I know now knows. Oh gosh.
It's okay.
I gotta own it.
We'll move on from Twilight now.
Okay.
The sparkle is disappearing.
The sparkle's fading.
The sparkle's fading. Now, one of the things that you're into, and again, on Twitter, found you role playing, lots of stuff. Is you're a tabletop gamer.
I am.
How did you get into tabletop gaming?
Wow, I have always been interested in Dungeons and Dragons, but I never knew like who to talk to play. Like I never knew people who were interested in it. I didn't have like the right group of friends who would want to play it. And basically I was just, I started getting into Twitch and like streaming here and there. And I made like a small friend group, and I kind of casually mentioned that I would want to play D&D sometime. And they were all very into the idea. And so this was just a little over a year ago, last December. And one of them was like, let's run a quick like one shot. And we played, and I became just so obsessed with it. I've always been very like creative minded and have always, written and done art. I'm a graphic designer, and I took a lot of creative writing, and I'm an English minor and just all this other stuff. And I loved how creative and improv and community storytelling. I just loved all those aspects of it. And I just dove in head first and started streaming once a week a D&D campaign that I decided to DM. From there, I started like becoming a part of the D&D community on Twitch and on Twitter. And I started like talking to people, and I had a bunch of ideas. And I was talking to one of my friends, Bob, on Twitter, and he was like, came at me with this idea for basically like a DM roundtable type thing where DMs would talk about different problems that they had, get feedback from each other, advice from each other, and how he just would never have the time to do it. And I said, can I take this and can I do it? And he said yes. And that's like where my life snowballed and turned into Off the Table, and turned into another campaign that I ended up DMing. It turned into a crazy like roulette game that I had on Sundays. And so now I'm playing in 2 games and DMing in 2 games. And I have the Off the Table on Thursdays. And so my life kind of just slowly turned into tabletop games. And it's been the best thing that's happened to me in a long time. Like, it's just brought me so much joy. I love it. I'm obsessed with it.
So you got into D&D last year. So you are, I assume, 5th edition as far as D&D goes. Yes,
5th edition. When I was introduced to it, we played like a really watered down version of it, not full 5th edition. Mm-hmm. But it's definitely one of my goals is to go back and play the older editions, because I think there's something really cool about like understanding where the game has come from and how it's evolved and how it's changed into what it is. So that's definitely on the to-do list for this next year. But yeah, 5e is what we play for all of the games that I'm in right now that are D&D, that is.
I love to ask for people that play D&D, do you have a favorite race or a favorite class that you find yourself drawn to, or that you just enjoy the heck out of playing?
My favorite, I don't know about favorite race, but my favorite class is fighter, and I don't know why I love it so much. Every time that, somebody wants to get a one shot together or something really quick, like thrown together, I always am leaning towards fighter, and I'm definitely trying to break away from that. And I've played ranger a couple times now that I'm kind of starting to get into that too. But there's just something so pure and simple about being a fighter that I love. It's so straightforward to me. I just really understand it. Like, I don't know. I really love just how simple it is. It's like you know what you're
Mhm.
getting when you play a fighter or when you're encountering a fighter.
Exactly.
So yeah,
Like
yeah.
yeah, it's just straight up like it's probably the easiest introduction to D&D you can do is play a fighter, because it's like, okay, all you got to do is kill things.
That's all you
Like
gotta
you don't
do.
have to worry about spells or spell slots or saving throws or lock picks or spells or anything like that. Like you just
Stealth. You
go
just
swing, just go hit something.
run in swinging every single time. You're just a big, strong guy, and I love that. That's one of my favorite things.
Now, are you more of a homebrew person, or do you follow like modules or certain stuff that Wizards has put out?
So I was pretty much completely self-taught, and I only played 2 sessions of like I said, watered down D&D before I threw myself in. But I am so controlling, and I had to have control over our campaign. And so it's all homebrew. Like I wrote, and the campaign that we're still doing that I write about on Encounter Roleplay is homebrew, because that's kind of, I wanted to create something. And you know, I definitely see like the merit in modules, but I like the idea of something that's completely unique to me and to the guys that I play with. And I love having control over everything. I think most people who DM do like having that control. So yeah, we do homebrew.
Do you prefer being a player or a DM? Or is it more like a 50-50?
I love being a DM. It's addicting. But so until recently, I hadn't even been a player in anything. I had 2 campaigns where I was the DM, and that's all I had. And then like we talked about earlier, I got into Burning Wheel, and I'm a player in that. And I can't imagine DMing Burning Wheel. It's such, like, for everybody, it's such an emotional roller coaster. And, you know, the whole game, the whole system is about challenging what you believe and how far are you willing to go over the edge for the things that you believe. And I can't imagine DMing that. So I don't know. It's probably 50-50. I love playing Burning Wheel. I love DMing D&D. I love playing D&D too, but I think for D&D, I definitely prefer to DM.
Okay. I had mentioned, you know, that you had talked about Burning Wheel on Twitter, and it caught my attention because there was a time period we had moved to the New York City, and I was looking for a D&D game on the internet, and I kept looking and trying to find people to play with, and there was like this group of people that were like super snobby, and they're like, oh, we don't play D&D, we play Burning Wheel. And I had never heard of Burning Wheel ever. And they're like, oh, it's just low, like way above D&D at the time, which I think it was in 3rd edition at that third 3.5. And I was like, I've never heard of Burning Wheel. And so what can you tell me, like, briefly, Burning Wheel, like layman's description of it?
So the key aspect of Burning Wheel is your beliefs as a character. So the entire game revolves around you choosing things that you want to pursue as a character. And it's all about metagaming. It's all about doing things to pursue these beliefs, even though you know the consequences that they're going to have on your character. And that's something else that's really cool about Burning Wheel, is that you know the failure consequence before you do anything. So your GM will literally tell you, if you fail this, you are going to take X amount of damage. If you fail this NPC is going to die. Like, they tell you up front, and you make that meta decision. Am I still going to try and roll for it? And that's like the whole concept of the game. And I've never fallen so hard, so fast in love with a game in my entire life. We've only just finished the first season. It was 6 actual like sessions long, and then we did an epilogue episode actually yesterday. And I mean, I was sobbing, crying episode 2, because that's the kind of emotion that you invest into these characters, because you're literally, everything you do is for the things that they believe, the things that you want to see them accomplish. And it's very different from D&D, but I highly recommend, even if you're on the fence, like go watch a Burning Wheel game and just get a taste for it. But it's completely driven by beliefs and like how far you will go to make that happen, even if it means wrecking your character's moral compass, hurting the people around you. I mean, seriously, like, will you die for what you believe? And it's intense, man. It's so intense, but it's incredible.
I'm going to have to check it out because it's always one of those systems where you hear about it and you hear the gameplay stories, but it's so hard to find people outside of the traditional D&D or Pathfinder or Star Wars type, getting into those games where it's like, okay, I really need some people to buy into like this game to even just try it out with me.
Yeah, I talked to a lot of different DMs and GMs for my Off the Table, and they talked about Burning Wheel. And then Steven, who's our GM for Burning Wheel, he like messaged me and was like, would you be interested in having this on your channel? And I was like, yeah, sure. Like not having any idea what I was getting myself into. And then we got, 2 more people to sign up, Dingo and Katie. And then we just started from there. And that was, 13 weeks ago now, over that 14 weeks, I guess. And like I said, it's so incredible. And I highly recommend that. If you love story, like if you're very there for like the role play aspects of D&D and the story driven parts of D&D, then you should check out Burning Wheel, because that's the core of what Burning Wheel is character development and role play with the other people in your game.
Awesome. I'll definitely have to take a look for that and listen and enjoy watching and see how the game works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I highly recommend it.
So you have two things that you are known for. One is Off the Table, which you just had talked about briefly, like getting that idea and running with it. Is that a Twitch only stream that you do, or is it like a Twitch and like podcast and something else, or?
Yeah, it's Twitch only right now. When we started it, I really wasn't sure if it was going to take off. I was fully prepared to pull the plug after the first week, and then tonight was actually our season finale, season 2. And so we're going to keep going with it. It's Twitch only. We talked about doing a podcast. We talked about, how we could expand upon Off the Table. But I see it mostly sticking to Twitch just because we love the live feedback. Like it's all about the conversation. And so having that interaction with the other people in chat is just such a huge aspect of what Off the Table is. And we are planning on, taking it to YouTube and all that other stuff. But yeah, right now we're on Twitch at off_the_table. It's been one of the biggest life changes and I love it so much.
And with Off the Table, you bring in like DMs to talk about games, or because I will be honest, I haven't watched it. But I just want to what's like there? You said like there's actual plays or talking to DMs like.
Yeah. So what the actual Off the Table show is, it's just an advice show for DMs, basically, for people. I wanted something that, because I'm a new DM, like I've only been DMing since maybe late February, early March, and I wanted a way that other DMs could come and like ask each other these questions, these hard questions that it's hard to find like straight answers to online. And so basically, we have a Discord and a Twitter, and we ask what people want to talk about. And so other DMs and GMs will come forward with topics. So like tonight we talked about catering to players, and, we've talked about NPCs, the good, the bad, the ugly. We've talked about character creation. We had an episode with new DMs. We had one with experienced DMs. And then we get questions from the community as well. What kind of questions do you have based on this topic? And we just go through them together. And it's me as the host and 4 other DMs or GMs every week. And we just read through the questions and we talk about it. And we just have an honest conversation and give our advice to the people who ask those questions and really end up giving a lot of advice to each other to kind of better ourselves as DMs.
That's awesome. And I like that aspect of it, because especially with you being a new DM, I know that there are communities where you throw out your idea or your question and the feedback that is given is just terrible and not very nice.
Yeah. And that's one of my favorite things that a lot of people will say, like, it's such a good community, the Off the Table community. And like, we're small. It's still, we've only been going since August, but it's been such a supportive community, which I really love. And you come at it from a place of really kind-hearted feedback. And so, like, even criticism, it's all done with love and trying to make each other better and like lift each other up. And that's definitely been one of my favorite parts. And it's made me better 110%. The advice that some of these guys and girls have given over the past couple of months.
And that is always a good thing. Just getting to be able to improve yourself and improve like everything that you do as far as like stuff at the table, and just being able to, provide that information to other people who might have been interested in it or needing something to give them that extra bit of like information. Yeah. It's definitely been so useful, I think, to a lot of people, and has brought a lot of us together that otherwise we wouldn't know each other. And it's been incredible, really. And on top of that, you are a writer for Encounter Roleplay. Is that correct? Yes, I am. Now, Encounter Roleplay is that another Twitch stream? Is that... it is. I know that there's a Kickstarter that they're doing, because I've put money into it. Yeah. So it's basically, Encounter Roleplay is like an actual play Twitch channel. They do, I think, 2 campaigns 5 days a week. So they stream for 6 hours, 5 days a week, and have all these different campaigns. And that originally how I found them is Will, who owns and runs the whole show, came into my Twitch chat when I was doing some DM planning. I just wanted to get live feedback on some ideas that I had for my campaign. And he ended up inviting me to come be on their like player day, where it's like a community play where they do a one shot and they bring in different people from the community to come play this one shot with them on Thursdays. And so I ended up doing that, and just like from there started meeting a lot of people through that community. And when he posted, I think on Twitter, about a writing job, I messaged him and was like, I would be really interested in this, because all of their streams happen while I'm at work, so I can't like be a part of it any other way. But yeah, but I still wanted to stay a part of that community, because it seemed like a really solid place. And I was right. It's been awesome. I've made a lot of friends through the other writers and all of the people that are on their campaigns and play and their chat and everything. It's another really, really cool place to go and talk to some awesome people about this thing that we all love, which is D&D. Now, what do you write for them? Do you write like story arcs, or are you writing like just individual like topics for a website? Like, so what I write, it's called the Eris Chronicler. My first homebrew campaign, which is called the Eris Chronicles, and basically it's like a slice of life type of article where I talk about the different challenges of being a brand new DM. And kind of how I've been working through those different challenges. I figured if I'm going through this, other people have to be going through this too. And I wanted it to be another way to start reaching out to the people who are maybe afraid to say, I'm a new DM. Just afraid of like whatever backlash they're going to get from the more experienced members of the community. And it's been really cool to like get feedback from other people who are like, I had the same problem that you wrote about, and here's how I dealt with it, and kind of building on that community of support and like trying to help each other and better each other.
So yeah, that's what I write about. It's really just about me and my struggles as a new DM. Yeah, but I really enjoy writing for them, and I'm glad that I have like a platform to another platform to reach out to the members of the community who are also new and struggling.
That is so cool, especially being able to just like give, again, you have the Twitch channel where you're giving that advice, but to also be able to like put that out there for people to read if maybe they can't watch your Twitch stream or, you know, can't follow you that way, they can read about what you have gone through as a new DM and everything. Yeah, and it's been really cool. Because I just write about, you know, whatever I'm dealing with at the time. You know, I'm still in this first year of this campaign and still learning a lot about, you know, how the game works and, you know, my players even and really still figuring it out. And so it's very fresh every week, my current struggles. The struggle is real, as they say.
Yes, it is. It is very real.
I guess the one last question is and I know you talked about going back to like playing older versions of D&D, but is there a game system out there that you've heard about and that just it's the one thing like on your mind, like I want to try that game? So yeah, I do have two that I'm really wanting to play. I've just heard everybody talk about Pathfinder, like literally everybody and their brother. And and I'm desperate to make that happen and like get a campaign going, or, you know, just like even some kind of introduction game for people who haven't played before. And then we ran a 3-episode Mouse Guard campaign, which is very similar. It's by the same people who created Burning Wheel. And you play as mice, and it's the cutest thing, but it's also devastating, and very emotionally taxing, similar to Burning Wheel. And I really want to play after watching their short campaign on the Off the Table channel. So those are the two that maybe 2018 will hold for me. Well, I'll tell you from experience as far as Pathfinder goes. Like Pathfinder is kind of like a D&D 3.75. Because after 4th edition came out, like people were like, I don't really like 4th edition. I want D&D 3.5, but maybe with like some redesigns. And I think that's how Pathfinder came about originally. And I think they've got some really cool like world settings and stuff that you can do in that game. But we played that because after a while, like our 4th edition game had died. And we're like, we don't really like that, the way how things feel. We're going to go to Pathfinder and switch to that. But Mouse Guard, man, that comic series was amazing. And I would like, that is one game that is on my list of, I want to try Mouse Guard as a role-playing game. It's the same kind of driving force behind Burning Wheel of your beliefs and your goals as a character. But, you know, the whole world is just so different. And I think a lot of people are like hesitant to be like, why would I want to be a mouse? But it's incredible. Like this short, if you need something to watch, we have all of our episodes up on our Twitch of Mouse Guard, and it's really good. Really, really good. And I'm desperate to play. People just need to find the comic and be like, see just some of those panels of what these mice are actually doing, and then they'll be like, hell yeah, I want to play. The art is incredible, isn't it? Like, it's just gorgeous. It is. And you wouldn't think of something like that, but as someone, like, I grew up with a book series called Redwall way back when in like the early 80s when I was reading as a kid. And, you know, when Mouse Guard came out, I was like, oh, it's like Redwall. And I was like, oh, no, it's not anything like Redwall, but it's super awesome. Yeah, it's incredible. And just having this even like little taste of watching other people play it has made me really, really excited to try it. I think you had mentioned it on Twitter, and I had added on my wish list, like the Mouse Guard role-playing game book. I was like, I'm just making sure that I remember at some point that I would like to come back and revisit this.
Yeah, don't forget. You got to make it happen for yourself.
Absolutely. I got to set my role-playing goals for 2018.
Yep. Me too. Is there anything that you would suggest for me?
The one thing that as far as like games that I loved back in the day, and I say back in the day, and I swear I'm oldish, but not that oldish, but like the games that my friends and I always played in college was like White Wolf's, like Vampire the Masquerade or Mage the Awakening, stuff like that. Like storyteller, like it's driven by your character actions, but combat takes forever type games. But I always love those. As far as like new stuff that's come out, I've got a really strong desire to play like Tales from the Loop. And that's one that's like I finally got the actual book. I had kickstarted it for the PDF and kicked myself that I didn't have enough money to pay for the book at that point.
Oh man.
But I got the book, and then the other one I'd love to try is like Numenera. It's a Monty Cook game.
Yeah.
Where it's set like 6 million years in the future, 6 billion years in the future, and so everything's just kind of weird and out there. But again, not. It's one of those games where you have to find the right group of people that are like, I want to play this game over D&D or Star Wars or the traditional ones that you find people playing.
Yeah, you really have to seek them out, I think. But as soon as you find that solid group that's willing to sign up, I think most people, because it's so hard to find a group, everybody's in it. Like everybody's all in for it.
Absolutely. And that's, again, it's one of the great things now. And I talked with James D'Amato of the One Shot podcast, and we had talked about how Kickstarter's like just introducing so many wonderful like role-playing games and different systems and settings, and you don't even need dice, or you use cards, or you just flip a coin, and it's just it's such a great time, because I was role-playing in like the mid to late 90s ish, and it was still kind of one of those things where people are like, you role play, like you play D&D, and now it's got that resurgence of, oh yeah, I play D&D, and so does like Joe Manganiello, and like all these famous people are playing D&D live on Twitch and YouTube, and all like it's like now becomes socially acceptable. It's like it's nice to be in this world now.
Yeah, I came in at a really good time, I think.
Yes, you came in at a great time. Now, Summer, for those people who have made it through and they got past Twilight and they've listened to tabletop stuff, what are some of the best places for them to find you online, either on Twitch or Twitter or anything else?
Definitely number one place to find me is Twitter. I basically live there. My personal Twitter is at Just a Summer Job, and then our like official Twitter for the Twitch channel is at @off_the_table. Twitter 110%. Twitch, I'm on Twitch at It's Just a Summer Job. For my own personal, like that's where I do my Eris campaign. That's where I do any art stuff that I do. I am a graphic designer, so I do a lot of like just random art stuff there. And then our Off the Table, where we run all of our longer term campaigns that are based like out of that community, and where we do our talk show is at @off_the_table, same as our Twitter. But yeah, those are the two best places to reach me. If you want a response within an hour, just hit me up on Twitter, because I never sleep and I'm always there.
Like I did.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. All right. So people, you can go take a look at the Twitch channels and interact on Twitter. And Summer is always posting stuff, so there's never a shortage of stuff coming out of Summer's Twitter channel or Twitter feed.
I actually felt so embarrassed because I actually tweeted about Twilight this morning, like forgetting that we were going to be talking about it. And I saw you like it, and I was like, oh no. I felt so embarrassed. I was like, he's going to think I'm actually crazy about this.
No, it's and as we wrap this up, people know I send out questionnaires because I love to like kind of pick and choose what we're going to talk about, because there was a time where it's like Harry Potter, everyone was talking about Harry Potter for like 5 or 6 episodes. I was like, I can't do that. And I like when people have these fandoms that are, maybe they're not something I like, or maybe it's something I have no clue about, and I can get into it and learn more about it. And dang if I don't want like a freaking Rosalie backstory book or something now of like her dark emotions and feelings of being trapped as a vampire and not being able to experience life and wishing death upon herself.
I'm glad that I could make you feel that way about Twilight.
See, there you go. You got that much out of me on this one.
Yeah, maybe not a full conversion, but we're in the right direction.
Well, Summer, it has been great to have you on. I'm glad that we got to be connected for this and before like the end of the year. And even though this isn't going to come out until March, it has definitely been a pleasure to have you on my podcast. And I am definitely going to be checking out everything that you're doing, because there's just so much good stuff out there, and I just need to make time to fit it all in. Maybe not Twilight, but other stuff.
Definitely other stuff. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm really glad that we got to talk and do this before the new year.
Thank you for listening to Tales from the Fandom. Subscribe to us on iTunes or your podcast app of choice. Follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Tales from the Fandom to see photos, links, leave feedback, and check out upcoming guests. If you'd like to be a guest, email David at talesfromthefandom@gmail.com.